Hi, today we're going to be covering how you can make your sprite jump and come back down smoothly as if it's being infected by gravity. So let's take a look. So you can see our sprite here when we press the up arrow key, goes up and then slowly comes back down. So how do we do this? Well, let's see. So let's create a new project. And inside that new project, we're going to go ahead and pull in our sprite. And then we're going to want to simulate gravity. So there's a couple different ways we can simulate gravity. Let's go with the more standard approach that people in Scratch like to use. But for us to simulate gravity, we need to kind of decide where our ground is going to be. So what we're going to do for now is we're going to create a variable, and we're just going to call it bottom, or y bottom. So this is going to be our ground. And we're going to set our ground to -100. And let's go ahead and in the beginning, we're going to move our character to the ground position. So now when we click the start flag, our sprite is going to be here as the ground. Now we want to set that as the ground because when we jump back up, we want to have something to jump down to. So that'll be our bottom. The next thing we're going to want to add is a forever loop. And we're going to want to check for if it's the bottom versus if it's not the bottom. And we'll see why in a moment. So if y position is less than the bottom or y position is equal to the bottom, we're on the bottom. Otherwise, we're in the air. So we can see here, let's add a little say I'm on the bottom. I'm in the air. So you can see here now that we're actually sitting on the bottom. So what we're going to want to do is when we press the up arrow key, we want to have our sprite jump. So there's a few different things we can try to do to jump. Well, one way we could jump is we could move our character up just by using a Y position. Well, that moves our character up, but our character's not coming back down. So how do we resolve this? Well, one thing we could do is instead of changing Y by a fixed amount, we can change Y by a speed going upwards. So let's call that velocity Y. Velocity is just a fancy word for speed, essentially speed going up. So what we can say here is if someone presses the up arrow key, we could set the velocity up to 15, and then we can change Y by the velocity. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to move the speed slowly down, or the velocity in the y direction slowly back down to pull our character down. So let's see what happens there. So if we're in the air, we're going to want to slowly move our speed back down. And then we're going to want to change our y motion by that amount. So what that will do is it'll give us a smooth change up and down. So let's take a look. So that's not bad. So now we're jumping in the air, and we're smoothly coming back down. So there's a few little things we could do, because sometimes it's not totally precise changing the velocity. There are some cases where you could slowly go off the bottom, or you might not be positioned properly. So let's go ahead and, if we are on the bottom, set our velocity y to 0. And just as a check in case we go below the bottom, let's set y to the bottom. So here we go. We're jumping in the air. We're on the bottom. That looks pretty good. However, there's one thing we might want is if we're in the air, maybe we don't want to allow it to jump. So you can see here, if I press the arrow key twice, I'm in the air, but I can still jump. So we're going to want to add a check when we press the arrow key to see whether or not we're on the ground. And only jump if we're actually on the ground. Now there's two different ways of doing this. One way we could do it is simply use our ground check from before. And that's pretty smooth. So if we hit the bottom or below the bottom, we essentially just allow ourselves to jump. And now when we're in the air, we don't jump, and we don't jump again. All right, well, please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.